Greetings, everyone. It's Nanette Saylor here, your creativity mentor. And I took some time today to think about what it is I wanted to say. There are a number of ways that I could be approaching this video challenge. And I thought that this was a good time to talk about how is it that I come to a decision about how to handle what I would consider to be a creative project. So this idea, doing videos every day on a 21-day challenge, and so maybe I don't have to do them every day, but it's a 21-day challenge in my coaching group, and you are the beneficiaries of this fun and excitement. So I could approach it from a variety of different ways. So I wanted to go through those with you and give you some insight into my process. And in doing so, give you some insight into how it is that I hold the space for you when you work with me, either in a workshop or on a one-on-one basis, or maybe you come on retreat. That how it is that I, as a coach, hold the space for you to evolve into your own process so that you get to be really comfortable and very happy and in this space of ease and joy with creating whatever it is that you choose to create. So I've been thinking about how this process for me, how this series of videos could be a very orderly, in my mind, somewhat ordinary, step by step. This is tip number 1, this is tip number 2, this is tip number 3, this is tip number 4, that I could create my videos that way. And it would be perfectly fine and would be wonderful. And for many people, it would meet your expectations. That you would expect that each day my videos would have some sort of order to them and there'd be a rationale, and I could start like I do with my signature talk. Some of you may have heard my webinar about my create system, and I could get started with that, and I could have yesterday talked about the letter C, and I could talk today about the letter R, and I could talk tomorrow about the letter E, and so on and so on. And so there already, I've given you 2 ideas of the ways that I might approach this creative project. One is, let's do a series of tips, quick tips. 10 best tips for nurturing creativity. And that would be 10 days worth of videos. Or use an acronym, CREATE. I already have that, the CREATE system. And that would be that many days worth of videos. But there's something about those systems, if you will, that feel on most days confining and restricting to me. And that's just me. If you've been watching my videos, you heard me say last year my word of the year was freedom. If you've followed me at all or ever heard me speak, you know that I am fiercely committed to honoring your unique gifts and every person's individuality. And I am fiercely committed to that being one of the strongest things that I support for all of my clients. That you are you and you alone, and your choices are exactly right for you when you give yourself time and attention to listen to the voice that is your core, right? Your inner wisdom. So from that place of fierce independence, fierce individuality, fierce need to be not like everyone else, okay, I'll own that there's a part of me that is that, kind of rebel. Yeah, there is. And I've always been that and always wanted to somehow carry the torch for the rebel in all of us, right? So with that in mind, how I approach this project might be a lot different than many people. So I could, as I'm doing now, simply turn on the video and begin to talk. And trust that what comes out of my mouth is going to be something that you will find valuable. And at the same time, also trust that if it's coming out of my mouth, it is valuable to someone, somewhere, somehow. Now, the challenge in that process is immediately when I say that it doesn't really matter how I've chosen to describe or define the value of this, that by my pure being of it, my pure speaking of it, it has value. Right behind that, in my head, comes the opposition to my inner wisdom, otherwise known as my inner critic, that says, oh, but how can you waste everybody's time by just saying something random? That's not okay. And oh my goodness, if you're not prepared for this video, then you're not really honoring people's time and attention. That's, in fact, by some definitions, totally disrespectful. And that is not okay. And then there's the, oh my, how are you going to edit just random drivel? If in fact that is what it is. And all of the other things that my inner critic is beginning to yell quite loudly in my ear right now, by the way. Saying, why don't you just turn off the video and be done for right now? Because here's the thing. The rules of this game are I just need to talk for 5 minutes. I need to post a video. And I've met my responsibility for the challenge. And I think by now, oh, yep, I'm looking at the timer. I have spoken for 7 minutes. So maybe that in and of itself is enough for my message to you today. That just by simply showing up, by turning it on, by being here and talking and processing and allowing whatever's going to be, that I have done my part. That maybe today's lesson is simply about putting yourself in action and allowing the experience to lead you where it is intended to go. And that, in fact, in my random way of talking around in circles here, has led me right to what I intended when I turned on the video today. Because let me just share a little story with you and I'll be done with the message, which is follow your gut and let it lead. But don't get stopped by your inner critic saying it's not good enough. Just do it. Thank you, Nike. Just do it. Just put it out there and see what happens. The worst is somebody might make a comment that's random and hurts my feelings or not. And I get to choose how I want to be with that information. But I also get to stand in the power of knowing that I pushed through and I did this thing. And maybe, just maybe, there's a little kernel, there's a nugget of something in there that's special and that sparks a creative thought for you. So here's how this started for me. Yesterday, I went to an event and a beautiful woman I know and love, Susie Q. She's an artist. Susie Q. Wood is an artist in the local community, known her for many years. Did a member spotlight during the meeting, and she talked about imagination plus inspiration equals creative action. Imagination plus inspiration equals creative action. And I came away from that meeting with those words continuing to play in my head, because I'm always looking for ways to help everyday people get a little clearer understanding of why it is I'm so passionate about the value of this conversation around creativity and the value of engaging you in creative activities. And we'll be doing some of that as we go along here. I've got lots of days of content to fill, so don't worry. I'm going to get out my coloring books and my pens and maybe even a smash book and some things for you to see and to learn and to play with. But for now, for today, I want to circle back to this idea, and I really want to anchor this. Imagination plus inspiration equals creative action. The first part is, where does our imagination go? How does our imagination work? What crazy ideas fly through our heads just randomly? The second piece is, how do you continue to be inspired? How do you fuel the well? Where do you go to get that inspiration? And that's a lot of what I focus on in my work. Because so often when we're stuck or we're feeling like we're not moving fast enough or things just aren't changing, it's because we're not refueling the well. It's because we've exhausted all that we know and we haven't gone out to seek inspiration to support our natural imagination. And then last but not least, we have to combine those things. And then we have to take action. So I could have come home and had that going around in my head for the next few days and done nothing with it and just thought about it. And I could have felt really good because I'm great at feeling really intellectual a lot of the time. I could have felt really good about myself for just thinking about this in a new way. And that in and of itself, giving it some attention, that is action. But let's take it a step further. You see, I have this video challenge to do. And I've committed to do it. And I needed content. And I didn't want to go back to my fallback of the standards, if you will, of my 10 tips or my CREATE acronym. It's not to say I won't one of these days when I'm just not feeling like conjuring up something new, or I haven't been inspired by something new. It's always a good idea to have the fallback. But for today, I have new inspiration. I have this amazing thought about imagination plus inspiration equals creative action. And thanks again to Susie Q. Wood. You can learn more about her at susieqwood.com. She's an amazing artist, activist, and entrepreneur. You will be better for having gotten to know her, I promise. Inspiration, imagination, inspiration equals creative action. So I opened up my computer and I Googled that to see what would come up, to see how I might frame that in a conversation that explains why creativity matters. Why does creativity matters? Why do you need a creativity coach? Why would anybody who's not an artist? And I found this website called Creativity and Change. And a little light bulb went on in my head about how we're all in the space of transformation. We're all in this space of being change makers, not just for ourselves, but if we're entrepreneurs, we're service-based entrepreneurs. We're in the business of change making. So creativity and how it impacts your ability to make changes, to process changes, to live with changes, to move through changes, to help others change, is a conversation worth having and worth repeating over and over and over again. So I opened up that website, Creativity and Change. It turns out it's a class at a program in Cork, Ireland. Pretty interesting, because my partner in life, Bill, his relatives, his heritage is from Cork, Ireland. And I've been looking for reasons to go back to Cork, Ireland. So I'm just going to catalog that for a moment, right? That's how this conversation, that's how these breadcrumbs, this random seeming, this spaghetti brain stuff I talked about yesterday, all works. I went to an event yesterday. I saw a speaker who inspired me, who connected the dots between imagination, inspiration, and creative action. I came home. I wrote a little bit about it in my journal this morning. And then I thought, there's more to this. There's more about this. There's information here to share. And then, have to do a video for my video challenge. So I thought, let me see what else I could find, because I was still struggling a little bit with, how do I frame this? Why creativity matters. How do I frame it? How do I say it? How do I show it? So that every person in the world gets it, or at least opens the door to beginning to see. If you learn nothing else, if you learn that you are a creative being and you have this amazing energy to use and to share, then I've done my job. But if you also then get encouraged to dive in a little deeper and begin to really understand this energy at work and to nurture it and play with it and to help others do the same, then I am thrilled. So, on this website, Creativity and Change, here's what it says. And I'm going to close with this. It's about creativity and its power to ignite empathy. Its power to ignite passion and learning about how we interrelate to be more humane and all the ways that we can nurture global connection. It's about igniting empathy, igniting passion, igniting connection, interconnectedness. And you hear me talk about that a lot. The C in create is connect, connection. Creativity is at the center of all of that. And it's about how we live as connected global citizens, making the changes that we want to see in the world. That's what creativity is all about. That's the power of nurturing this energy. So that's where my random process led me today. I hope you've enjoyed following along on my journey. I much prefer, by the way, to allow my messaging to be inspired by the experiences I have every day, rather than to hold to a rigid doctrine of the way that things are supposed to be. My life has gotten so much easier and so much happier based on simply allowing these experiences to unfold in the gaps, in the spaces that are in between the things that I, quote unquote, have to do. And when I allow those things to be true for me, then all kinds of magic happens. So I invite you to join me. Try this. See what happens today. When you get inspired, when you get that little spark, when something flies by that catches your imagination, that inspires you, then consider, what creative action might I take with this new found inspiration? How might I weave that into my life today? And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be as simple as turning on your computer and recording a video for the Expand Your Impact Video Challenge. And that's it. Nothing more than that. And if somehow I've encouraged you to do something that makes you a little uncomfortable too, then I've done my job, and all is well in the world. With that, I will say goodbye until we meet again on this journey of creative living. And if you have anything that you'd like me to talk about, as I said the other day, I'm happy to take inspiration from all kinds of places, especially from those of you who are watching these videos. So enjoy, have a beautiful, magical, creative day, and I'll see you soon.